So here we are with our neighbor. You're our neighbor.
Yes, I am
Daniel
next
Boulud.
door.
You're next door, just down the street from us.
Next to our famous fire station here.
Yes, the very historic fire station.
Absolutely.
And it's so nice to see you do this book. But I have to ask you right away, because you did more accessible books as your first. Tell me which book this is, first of all. This is number 8.
Yes.
So your first few books were, like, I used them. They were great. Unlike Thomas Keller, who did French Laundry right off the bat, and was like, I couldn't use that at all. So now you've done your big book, your big sort of...
The opus.
The opus.
Yes.
Did you feel you needed to wait?
No. I think it was just done every time I was doing a cookbook. It was like 16 years ago when I opened Café Boulud.
Yes.
I wanted to capture the moment with the theme of the menus, the theme of the restaurant. And I closed basically because I was moving also Restaurant Daniel to a new location and creating Café Boulud. So I had an entire brigade of chefs for 2 months doing nothing. So I said, why don't we do a cookbook? So that's how we created Café Boulud Cookbook.
You just snap your fingers and out comes a cookbook?
With the style of Café Boulud. And then I did braise because I love braising, and that was kind of taking a journey around the world. I did with El Decor. I have a column for 18 years now, every month. And so we did a book called Daniel Dish.
Yes.
My first cookbook 20 years ago came out, and so that's why this is kind of like the milestone.
It's good.
20 years
I don't know
later.
what you're going to do next, but we look forward to it.
Well, I think I'll do a cookbook with Gavin Case and the chef of Café Boulud.
There you're in Toronto. That's exactly.
We're going to do an encore for Café Boulud.
I want to ask you though too, just quickly, because you worked for a long time at Le Cirque.
Yes.
Where hospitality, the front of the house, just that whole doing the whole idea when you walk into a restaurant, it starts as soon as you open the door. How do you feel about it now? I mean, you still practice that, but it's changed.
We still try to teach about that because at the end, I think food is what also is going to transport you, what they're going to make you come back. Yeah. Food is what's going to certainly touch you inside. But the first impression is very important, and I think the welcome, the attention to detail in service, the way a person spoke, the way a waiter will make you feel. And for example, at Daniel, it could be a very intimidating experience. And the minute you come and you sit down, last night again, some guests from Europe who are actually no, they were not from Europe, they were from Australia, and that was the first time in New York and first time at Daniel, and they said, this is incredible, we had the best time in our life, and we would have never believed that the service would have been so friendly, so helpful, so accommodating, and so discreet at the same time. They were always there, but they were not on you. Discreet. Yes. That was a good word. I'm glad you used that. Yeah, and I think it's about reading your customer and make them feel special for the moment they're with you. Yeah. And I think Restaurant Daniel, I think we do very well. We excel at that. Too.
Now, I will say though, what do you think? I mean, you were one of the first, if not the first, to do the infamous burger.
Yes.
Do you feel you?
14 years ago.
I know. Now, do you think you've unleashed something? Like, did you realize what an impact that would have?
Well, I didn't know what I knew that the burger was a monster when I made that burger at Daniel for customer at Daniel. Yeah. Before I put it on DB Bistro's menu, and I knew because everybody went crazy and said, Daniel, where are we going to eat this burger? And I said, well, you have to wait until I open the bistro. Right. And a year later, I opened the bistro, and it started this sort of gourmet burger craze. And
it was I ate it. I've had it.
And we have seen the most idiotic, stupid ideas on burgers coming out of it, because there was
that's all your fault. Yeah, that's your fault.
I mean, some guys were putting gold leaf on top just to try to justify that it was an expensive burger.
Well, now one last quick question though, only because you worked in Copenhagen years and years and years ago.
Yeah, before the Noma era.
Before the Ridzepi era, the Noma era. Like, what did you get from there? What drew you there?
I love Copenhagen. I love Denmark. I love Scandinavia. I was there 1978 to 77. I went the first time, and I left in 1980, but coming back in France for a year in between. And for me, coming from France for the first time and knowing only the French style of cooking and the French organization and also the ingredients and the style of cooking. I mean, I never been out of France, so I didn't know what Scandinavian cuisine was or any of, and already being there were a lot of chefs who had stage in France, who had worked in France in different parts.
And gone back.
And starting to really do things very differently, thinking very much out of the box. And
even then.
Yeah. And I was very excited. I mean, I love the young generation of, let's say, the first generation of those chefs in Denmark. Which today now
has produced René.
René is already second, and there's some kids coming out of René
third
now.
Generation,
well, already third, but this first generation, I was kind of living with them, part of it. I was the chef for one of the young one there at the time, and it was very exciting. Creativity and food was not conventional for French cuisine. And
really
today, what's happening, I think, is it's exactly that, the growth of talent in the country, and it's not only Denmark, it's Scandinavia in general. I mean, I think Sweden and Norway are also extremely talented. Does not mean in general then the food is perfect everywhere, but in the talented corners of talented chef, it's amazing.
Well, listen, we look forward. I know this is not your last book.
No,
I know this is. You're gonna snap your fingers. There's going to be another one.
But this is my French cuisine, because I think it captures what we do at Daniel now, and a lot about what we do in New York and what the restaurant, the life of the restaurant besides just the food we put in the plate.
It's a great reading book too. I love to read the cookbooks.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the essay with Bill Buford, where I wanted to do classic dishes which I've not done for 30 years or more, or dishes I had in mind to do but never had the chance, and so I called Buford and invite him in my kitchen to cook with me.
That's a kind of handy person to have at your beck and call.
What an amazing writer.
Good. Yeah.
And I think that portion of dishes, it's entertaining. Yeah. It's taking people in a journey. It's taking people in an era of cooking which is gone. Yeah. And I think it's good to bring people back into that.
Well, thank you.
And then some home recipe in case you were wondering what you're going to cook at home.
That's right. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.